For weeks, something felt off. Army could sense it. The subtle changes in Taehyung's tone, his distant smile during live broadcasts, the quiet pauses that spoke louder than words. No official statement had been made, but whispers were growing louder online. Then it happened. HYBE released an announcement that sent shockwaves through the fandom, a decision that would directly affect Taehyung's next chapter. No one was prepared for what they read. Fans flooded social media with disbelief. Some defended HYBE's choice, saying it was for the better, while others couldn't hide their anger and heartbreak. It wasn't just about business, it felt personal. For many, Taehyung isn't just an artist. He's a symbol of strength, warmth, and authenticity in a world that often hides behind perfection. Inside sources claimed that the decision had been in the making for months. Meetings, silent tensions, and unspoken disagreements had all led to this moment. But why now? Why Taehyung? Those were the questions echoing through every corner of the fandom. And as fans searched for answers, one thing became clear. This wasn't just a company move. It was something much deeper. Something that could change everything about what ARMY thought they knew. When the official statement from HYBE dropped, the internet froze. Every ARMY account, every fan page, every news outlet began to share the same headline. HYBE confirms major change involving BTS's V, Kim Taehyung. The words were vague, almost too careful. But behind that careful language was something raw, something that couldn't be hidden anymore. HYBE's major change wasn't just about schedules or management. It was about control, about direction, about Taehyung's future as both an artist and a person. Within minutes, hashtags like #ProtectTaehyung, #HYBE explain this, and #WeStandWithV were trending worldwide. Millions of fans demanded clarity. They wanted answers, not polished statements or PR lines. They wanted the truth. Inside sources began to leak fragments of information, meetings behind closed doors, projects postponed, decisions made without Taehyung's full approval, and then whispers that something had broken inside the team, a silence between members that no one wanted to talk about. While the world speculated, Taehyung remained quiet. He didn't post, he didn't go live. And for a fandom that lives through his voice, that silence was deafening. ARMY began to wonder, was he hurt? Angry? Or was he simply trying to protect something or someone? Meanwhile, Jungkook was spotted during a rehearsal, his expression unusually tense. He avoided questions, stayed focused, and left the studio without a word. But fans noticed the way he glanced toward Taehyung's name whenever it was mentioned, that silent look that spoke more than any interview could. Something was clearly happening behind the scenes, and whatever it was, HYBE didn't want the world to know. Days passed. The chaos online only grew louder. Tweets, theories, fan edits, and heartbreak filling every corner of social media. But amid all the noise, Jungkook stayed silent. That silence, however, didn't mean he wasn't feeling it. People close to the group described him as distant, restless, and tired. He showed up to practice, smiled when the cameras were on, but the spark, that light he always carried, seemed dimmer. Then one late night, everything changed. Jungkook went live. No music, no filters, no rehearsed words. Just him sitting in a dark room, hoodie pulled up, eyes slightly swollen. For a while he didn't even speak. He just scrolled through comments, his lips pressing together whenever he saw Taehyung's name. Finally he said it. I know everyone's worried about him. There are things we can't say, not yet. But please don't believe everything you see. His voice cracked, just slightly, but enough for fans to feel it in their hearts. He smiled faintly, trying to stay strong. Taehyung is one of the most genuine people I know. He deserves peace, and he deserves to do what he loves. Whatever happens, I'll always support him. We all will. And just like that, the comments exploded. He's talking about it. Jungkook is defending Taehyung. HYBE can't hide this anymore. The live stream lasted only 15 minutes. But those 15 minutes broke through weeks of silence and uncertainty. ARMY could feel it. This wasn't scripted. This wasn't a PR stunt. This was real emotion, raw and unfiltered. When the live ended, the world seemed to pause, because even without naming names or exposing secrets, Jungkook had made his message clear. He was standing with Taehyung, and that changed everything. The world had been waiting. After Jungkook's emotional live, fans knew it was only a matter of time before Taehyung spoke. But no one expected how or what he would say. It was early morning in Seoul when a quiet notification appeared on Weverse. Taehyung has posted. In less than a minute, millions of armies flooded the app. The post wasn't long, just a single photo and a few lines of text. But the meaning behind them, it hit harder than any press release ever could. The photo showed Taehyung standing by the ocean, his back to the camera, wearing a simple black cap. Underneath he wrote, "Sometimes silence says more than words. That I'm learning to trust the process, and to believe that the truth always finds its way." That was it. No direct mention of HYBE, no names, no drama. Yet somehow everyone knew. Fans began crying, tweeting, and analyzing every word. His post was calm, but heavy. It wasn't anger. It was acceptance. It felt like he was saying goodbye to something. Maybe control, maybe expectation, maybe the version of himself the industry wanted him to be. Hours later, Taehyung was seen at the airport, wearing sunglasses and carrying his guitar case. No staff, no security entourage, just him and his quiet determination. Rumors spread instantly. He's leaving HYBE. Others said he was traveling for a solo project. But to ARMY, it didn't matter where he was going. What mattered was that he was finally free enough to choose. On Twitter, the hashtag #WeTrustTaehyung reached 15 million tweets within hours. Fans around the world posted messages of support, promising to follow him wherever his journey led next. For the first time in weeks, the chaos started to calm, replaced by something more powerful: hope. Because deep down, everyone knew this wasn't the end of Taehyung's story. It was the beginning of a new one he would finally write himself. HYBE stayed silent at first. For a company known for quick, polished responses, the silence was almost suspicious. No statements, no clarifications, just stillness. But behind that calm exterior, insiders said the boardroom was in chaos. Emails were flying. Meetings were rescheduled. Taehyung's post, simple as it was, had shifted the power dynamic overnight. Investors wanted answers. Fans wanted the truth. And HYBE? They wanted control back. 2 days later, a statement appeared on their official site. It read, "We respect our artists' creative decisions and personal growth. Taehyung will continue his journey with full support from our team." It sounded perfect, too perfect. The kind of polished PR line meant to calm a storm, not explain one. But fans weren't buying it. Beneath the polite words, something felt off. The tone lacked warmth. It didn't sound like it came from people who understood Taehyung. It sounded like it came from people trying to manage him. Then came the leaks. A former HYBE staff member anonymously shared messages hinting that Taehyung had been pushing for more freedom over his music, wanting to write, produce, and direct his own visuals without company interference. HYBE, worried about brand alignment, had reportedly rejected multiple concepts he proposed. That's when things began to fracture. According to one insider, he wasn't angry, he was disappointed. He just wanted honesty. He wanted respect. And that disappointment had grown quietly, until it became impossible to ignore. When fans learned this, the entire narrative changed. This wasn't rebellion. This wasn't drama. It was an artist finally standing up for his voice. Suddenly, support poured in, not only from ARMY, but from other musicians and industry figures too. Taehyung's decision had sparked a conversation about artistic freedom, mental health, and what it really means to be an idol in a system built on control. HYBE's attempt to contain the situation had backfired because the truth, once revealed, couldn't be silenced anymore. And somewhere, far from Seoul, Taehyung sat quietly, watching the world react, his phone lighting up with messages of love and strength. He didn't post. He didn't need to. The world was finally speaking for him. It had been weeks since Taehyung's post. The noise online had started to fade, replaced by a strange kind of peace, the calm that comes after a storm. But for Jungkook, there was no peace. Not yet. He couldn't stop thinking about that image. Taehyung standing alone by the ocean. It haunted him. Every time he looked at his phone, he'd see the photo reposted again and again, and every time it felt like a silent message meant for him. So one evening, without telling anyone, Jungkook made a decision. He booked a flight. No cameras, no staff, just a hoodie, a mask, and a small backpack. He needed to see him. Not to fix anything, not to talk about the company, but just to be there when Jungkook arrived. Taehyung was staying in a quiet coastal town, far from Seoul, far from the chaos. He found him sitting by a cafe window, guitar resting beside him, a notebook open in front of him. The same calm presence, but with something softer in his eyes, peace mixed with pain. Taehyung looked up and smiled. "You actually came." Jungkook just nodded, words caught in his throat. He sat down, and for a moment, neither of them spoke. The only sound was the ocean outside, steady and endless. Finally Jungkook whispered, "I should have reached out sooner." Taehyung shook his head gently. "You did in your own way. I saw your live." They both laughed, that small bittersweet laugh only two people who've been through too much can share. After a long silence, Taehyung said quietly, "It's strange, you know? When you start choosing what feels right for you, people think you've changed. But maybe I'm just becoming myself." Jungkook stared at him, realizing how much strength hid behind that calm. "Then keep becoming yourself," he said. "No matter what they say, I'll be there." That night they walked along the beach, no security, no stage lights, just two souls who had grown up in front of the world, finally breathing freely. And though they didn't talk much, everything that needed to be said was understood. For ARMY, the moment would remain unseen, but for them, it was everything. A quiet promise between brothers who had weathered the same storm and found each other again in its calm.